name's Jim Orford. I'm from England. I'm from Birmingham in England, from the School of Psychology at the University of Birmingham. So I'm a psychologist, and nearly all my career I've been involved in addiction research. So the exciting thing to me about talking about gambling is that it is one of the addictions. In fact, as some people say now, it's almost the central addiction, because it's not a drug, it's almost a pure addiction. So I'm interested in it from a theoretical point of view, but then I'm also interested as a psychologist in gambling and problem gambling from a practical point of view. And I'm particularly interested in coming to the conference here in Auckland, because I'm very aware of the fact that I think in New Zealand generally you're really doing some interesting thinking about the application of public health to gambling, and also I think you're quite well further ahead, I think, than us in terms of trying to do something about it, and in terms of finding ways of standing up to the powers that are promoting gambling and expanding gambling and making us all vulnerable to it. We've had machines for a long time, electronic gambling machines in Britain for a long time, but just recently, in just the last few years, there's a new type of machine has come in, and it came in surreptitiously actually. I think they came in under the radar, and they probably were illegal to start with, but they were very quickly legalised and probably shouldn't have been. We call them fixed odds betting terminals. And actually, I think they're rather different from your kind of pokie machines, because what they do is they allow you to play virtual casino games like roulette, actually on a machine. And the really bad thing about them is that although they're casino games you're playing, they're allowed in betting offices, betting shops off the high street. So you can just walk straight in off the street and really bet a lot of money. You can stake up to several pounds at a time, up to £15 or so, and you can win quite a lot of money. You can win up to £500, and it's all very quick. So they're causing a lot of problems. They're causing rather more problems than the traditional types of machines that we've had for some time, and people are very worried about it. Some of the members of Parliament are really quite worried about these as well now. I wrote a book, it came out about a year ago. It was called An Unsafe Bet, The Dangerous Rise of Gambling and the Debate We Ought to Be Having. And I think that's my particular point, is that I think we're allowing this all to go ahead, certainly in Britain we're allowing it to go ahead, without sufficient debate. I mean, both public debate and professional debate. And we're really allowing the government and the gambling industry simply to call the shots and get away with telling us that this is just ordinary business, this is just an ordinary commodity, just like any other leisure commodity. We shouldn't be worried about it. It's only a minority of people who can't deal with it and can't use this responsibly. So I think they're trying to tell us how to think about it, and have headed off a debate. So we're not having the proper debate. So that's what I would say we should be doing. We should be having a real public debate about this. We've got evidence from our national surveys. We've got evidence that actually when you ask the public about gambling, on the whole they're pretty suspicious of gambling, and the majority of people think that there's too much opportunity for gambling nowadays, and that on balance gambling probably isn't good for society, and so they're really surprisingly suspicious and negative about it. And I think if one did have a public debate, the government and the gambling industry might be rather surprised, actually. I'd like people to take away, I suppose it's about raising a consciousness, really, because I think what the powers that be, what the government and the gambling industry and so on, and other people who are becoming dependent financially on the proceeds of gambling, I think what they're trying to do is to get us to accept that this is a normal, thoroughly acceptable process that's contributing to the economy, that's culturally good. They're trying to get us to accept that without a debate. So I think for me it's all about raising consciousness, really. So I hope people would go away from, certainly from my presentation, and perhaps from the conference as a whole, with their consciousnesses raised about what really is going on. I think that's the thing. But the conferences, there's all sorts of interesting things going on at the conference. I mean, I've learned all sorts of interesting things about projects that people are doing here and overseas, folk from Australia, some of the things they're doing in parts of Australia. So I think there's a lot of really interesting detail as well. But I hope the contribution I made might contribute to a raising of consciousness, and the people would go away and then spread that word to other people, and perhaps say, "Oh, should we be taking this money from the gambling industry, or should we be doing this, or I wonder, how are they getting us to think here?" So it's starting to ask the awkward questions.